Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of In the Kitchen with Baker Girl. Thank you, Jesus. It is another beautiful day to be in the kitchen. Today's soup recipe, will be making chicken and dumplings, but not the typical chicken and dumplings. No, I will be making chicken and dumplings. Yes, I am going to take some wonton wrappers, fill them with chicken, and add the dumplings to the soup and make a new take on a traditional chicken and dumpling. Before I jump into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow along, because on my channel I like to share lots of different cooking tips and tricks and recipes with you. So if you enjoy getting free recipes and enjoy getting tips and all of those things that I love sharing, please don't forget to subscribe. Now, you can use ground chicken to fill your wonton wrappers. You can use ground beef. You can use ground turkey. You can also make these vegan by using mushrooms in lieu of the chicken. But this is chicken and dumplings, so I'm going to be using chicken. And here I have some chicken breasts. Now, I really wanted chicken thighs. That's really what I wanted for this recipe. I didn't have any chicken thighs thawed out, but I do have some chicken breasts. So it's a little leaner and a little lighter. And I'm going to use that. Now, I like to make my own ground chicken because I know it's freshly ground. So that's what I'm going to be doing, is making my own ground chicken. Now, before I jump into the ground chicken, over here, I already have my veggies diced, prepped, and ready. So I'm actually going to set these aside over here. And I am going to start grinding my chicken. So this is another one of my Ninja blenders. This one I reserve only for grinding my own meat. And it's actually very easy to ground your own. It's actually very easy to grind your own meat using a food processor. I do have a grinder that attached to my KitchenAid, but for this amount, I only pull that out if I have like a lot of different things to grind. So I'm going to go ahead, and now this would be better if this chicken was ever so slightly frozen. No, it's not. But by the way, once again, I'm being brave by not wearing an apron. Maybe silly, I don't know. We'll find out at the end of the video. And I did reserve a piece of onion to grind right in here with my chicken. So I'm just going to add the onion in. Now, this is how you make ground chicken for, whatever you may be doing, whether you're using, you're using it to make like homemade patties or homemade nuggets. It all starts with grinding up some chicken in a food processor. So I'm going to put the lid on. I got the chicken breast in there, and I've got the onion because I want the onion to grind right along with the meat. You can use onion powder, by the way. I just prefer the ground onion. And I'm going to pulse this until the chicken is finely ground. It should look more like a paste. So start out pulsing so you chop everything up. And then just let the blender go. You may need to stop and scrape down the bowl. That's good. That barely really took a minute. Okay, so your meat will look somewhat like this. And yeah, it's totally ground up. So go ahead and remove the blade. So let's go ahead and remove a tiny amount of meat. But really, you can use more or less depending on how many dumplings you want to make. I don't want to make a ton of dumplings, and you cannot put but a small amount of meat into the dumplings Anyway, so if you have a ton of meat, you'll end up making a ton of dumplings. So I brought along my spice rack, and I'm going to start adding some spices to my chicken, because obviously we do want to season the chicken. So I'm going to add some salt, and you can season this up, you know, however you like. These are the seasons that I'm going to use. So I'm going to add some salt. I have some za'atar. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know I love za'atar. And I have some spices that are my everyday spices that I keep in these little containers. This is chipotle powder. I'm going to add just a smidge of that, not that much, about a quarter of a teaspoon. And I also have a little bit, just a bit of chili powder, just a dash of that. And then I'm going to add in some garlic powder, because we added an onion, but now I'm going to add in some garlic powder. About a quarter of a teaspoon of that. And some black pepper. The reason why you want to add something spicy to little things like this is little dumplings like this are like little mouthfuls. So you want them to have a good burst of flavor. You don't want them to be bland. And I have some crushed red pepper flakes. I'm a little heavy on the crushed red pepper flake because, like I say, you don't want them to be bland. Now, because this is chicken breast and I wanted chicken thighs, I'm going to add a little bit of mayonnaise to this. It just keeps the dumplings nice and moist. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of mayonnaise, a scant tablespoon of mayonnaise. And it just helps keep the chicken breast nice and moist, add a little bit of fat to it. You can leave it out if you like the low fatness of the chicken breast. You can leave it out. But a tablespoon of mayonnaise is not gonna do any harm. I'm also gonna add some Italian herbs as well. These little dumplings are gonna have loads of flavor, which is just what we want. Okay, so this mixture is ready to mix up. But before I put my hand in the mixture and start mixing it up, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting everything prepped for my dumplings, because once I get my hands in there, I really don't wanna be touching other things. Setting myself up a little station here. I also have some flour and water that I mixed up in a little bowl. This will help to, this will seal the edges of your little dumplings, because you don't want them to come open in the middle of cooking. And I am going to wear gloves, because I really, really, really don't like sticking my hands into stuff like this. So I just prefer to wear gloves. You don't have to, it's perfectly fine. Now I am going to take out some dumplings, and the others I'm going to set aside and keep them covered. Two reasons. Reason number one, I don't want to contaminate the dumplings that I don't use. And reason number two, I want to make sure they stay nice and covered, because they do have a tendency to dry out really, really quickly. Okay, so now it's time to mix up this mixture. And you can add other things in here to give this more flavor if you wanted to. You can add some soy sauce. You can add some Worcestershire sauce, different things you can add in here. Just want to make sure everything is nicely mixed, because you don't want to bump into a lump of seasoning. I can smell that onion. That smells really good. Okay, so to start filling our little dumpling wrappers, I've got everything around me that I need. I'm going to start off by taking a very small amount of the chicken mixture. It's about a teaspoon, just a tiny amount, and then just take some of the flour and the water paste, go around the edges, just like that, all around the four edges. And you can debate on how you want to seal them, because that depends on the shape that they be. So you can do little triangles like this. And there are people I've seen who can do this so quickly, because they do it all the time. So just pick it up like little triangles and then close up the corners like that. It's very important that you get this first seal correct, because if you don't, it goes downhill from here. And then I'm going to take my edges and I'm going to fold them over just like that. And just make little dumpling pockets like that. So that's one. And I'm going to go ahead and make another one. Don't be too generous with the filling because it'll just cause it to ooze out and you'll just end up fretting yourself. So as tempting as it is to add extra, don't. Go around the edges. That little flour and water paste too makes a big difference in sealing these little guys. Okay. And then just pick it up, fold it in half. Now you can leave these folded in half and they'll be like little raviolis. You can also put two of them together and make little raviolis. That would be good. Especially if you were using ground beef, you were making like your own homemade ravioli. That would be really nice. Now I'm going to seal this one a slightly different way. I'm going to take this corner and tuck it under this corner like that. And that gives you more like a little traditional dumpling. Like a nice little pocket. Set that aside. And this is fun. If you have a buddy, by the way, to help you do this, you can pick them up and it go a little faster if you pick them up. If you have a kitchen buddy that you can nab to help you fill these dumplings, then that's a good thing because otherwise it gets a little, after a while you're like, oh, how many dumplings did I fill? Okay. But we're always happy to be in the kitchen. I am. So how long it takes me to do something I don't really consider, it's the end that I'm trying to achieve. So it's the destination, not the journey. For me, anyway. Okay. Tuck the little dumplings together. And whoops, come back. Set that one aside. So I'm going to keep on making dumplings until I have used up all my mixture. And I'm going to set them aside and I'm going to let them kind of dry out a little bit. And that makes, help them to have really, really good texture and they won't just collapse or come loose when you put them into your soup mixture. So I'm just going to keep making dumplings. All right, I've got all of the dumplings filled. They actually look somewhat like little flowers, to be honest, but I've got them all filled and I'm gonna let them sit here and hang out until they kind of start to dry out and they're not so wet and tacky. Now it's time to move on to the stove and start our soup base. So I'll meet you over by the stove. Okay, so I am by the stove and I have my Dutch oven preheating and I'm going to go ahead and add in some olive oil. Put a good amount of olive oil in here too. A couple tablespoons. And let that heat up, which won't take long. And then I'm going to start sauteing my veggies. All right, so my oil is preheated. I'm going to go ahead and add in my chopped onion. Give that a stir. Let your onion sweat out for about a minute or two. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add in a couple of pieces of ginger and I'm going to throw in a bay leaf. Then I'm going to add my carrots. Those to the pot. You can smell the ginger. Wow, it smells really good. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in the remainder of my veggies. So I'm going to add in the celery and the zucchini. Go ahead and put all of that in now. Just a good toss. Looking good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start seasoning them up with a little bit of black pepper. Oops, not quite that much. Just a little bit of black pepper. And of course I'm going to add some za'atar because I love za'atar. One of my favorite spices. Give that a stir. Now I haven't added any salt because I am going to add some chicken broth. All right, so I have here some hot chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth if you're not using the meat. You can use vegetable broth. Go ahead and add that in. Add in your veggie broth, your chicken stock, or your veggie broth. And bring this up to a simmer and let this simmer for a couple minutes. So I'm going to put the lid back on the pot and let the veggies simmer. Okay, so the veggies have simmered a bit and they've gotten a little tender. Now I'm going to add in a can of cream of chicken soup. Now this isn't something I use a lot at all, but my mom used it for soups, especially chicken and anything like chicken and noodle soup or anything like that. So you can add it or you can leave it out. It's entirely up to you. If you do leave it out, you can make a roux with chicken broth and butter and flour, and that'll give you something similar. But my mother used it, and I know some of you probably use it. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not something I use a lot. Okay, now you want to make sure your soup is hot at this point because we're going to go ahead and drop in our dumplings. So I'm going to make sure the soup, not necessarily boiling, but you do want to make sure it's good and hot. And I'm going to go ahead and add in the dumplings. So just drop them in. Now remember, these are raw. They are not cooked. So they do need to cook because there's raw chicken in here. It won't take them long, but you obviously don't want to, turn the heat off at this point because these are cooking. Okay, just drop them in there. And I'll give it a stir in a minute. And you treat these just as you would pasta, such as gnocchi or, something like that. Treat them just like you would pasta. Okay, add in the last dumpling. And then just give it a very gentle stir. Very gentle. You don't want to damage the dumplings because at this point they're very delicate. So just drop them in there. And also, if the soup is hot, they won't burst open. Okay. Now, I want to make sure I keep my heat at medium. I don't want this to start to boil because that also will make your dumplings burst open as well. So just keep that heat down to low. And I'm going to put the lid back on the pot. And I'm going to let this simmer and just keep your eye on them. If it looks like they want to boil, just crack the lid and turn your heat down. And I'm going to let these dumplings simmer until they're done. Every now and then you want to check in your dumplings and just give them a very gentle stir. Very gentle. You don't want them to break. Just give them a gentle stir. Okay, see you guys in a few minutes. Okay, the soup is done. Yay! And the little dumplings look so good. All right, the soup is done. Now it's time to ladle up a bowl full So you start off by ladling in some veggies. And then you ladle in a couple of dumplings. There you are. I think about 3 dumplings per bowl is an appropriate amount of dumplings. There you are. And the soup is done. Smells good. I've got my spoon ready. Let's have a taste. Ooh, it's hot. Ooh, it is hot. It just came off the stove. That's good. I like the creamy chicken soup in there. That's actually pretty good. This is delicious. I hope you give this recipe a try. If you do, please let me know. And in the meantime, the good Lord willing, I will see you guys again in another episode. Take care, y'all. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna wait before I tackle those dumplings.